Okay, so we started this, started on this, we missed the footage in the beginning because of the camera failure. What we've got on the lathe is a small piece of spalted sycamore. It's about 3¼ 3.5 inches in diameter, and the length I think was about 5.5 inches or 6 inches thereabouts. So basically I have a 10 on one end that's fixed onto the chuck on the C jaws, and currently it's there is a 10 on the other end, but it's just being held there in the stead live center, just putting a little bit of shape into the top. So you can see the line on the piece of wood where the top is going to be parted off. We'll get to that in a minute. It's fine. So I was using a little 3/8 spindle gauge there from Robert Sorby. And this is a little record in Hartington. So the first and the second cut there, the first cut was the initial cut, then the second one was a little bit of a relief cut. So we'll just go down through. And we did it about 2/3 of the way through, or maybe slightly more. And I decided just to saw the rest off. Excuse my terrible whistling. So I dropped on the floor. Just going to check, see does the see will it help to get the spalting line and the grain to match up. That looks too bad. So this is my new lathe, the Record Power Regent. It's taking me a little bit of time to get the, I've only had it for 3 or 4 days. It's taking a little bit of time to get used to the difference between the way the levers operate and where the controls are and stuff. I still find myself reaching for the top of the block to try and switch it off. It's actually just on the left hand side. So now we're on to following. I was just trying to think there, because I haven't done very many boxes, I have to kind of constantly refer or remind myself on where I need to make the a little tenon or a little mortise or whatever it is I'm going to do. So I'm just checking that tool and set it there. Just maybe start the wall type. I was actually although this was a channel to start with, but then I decided maybe not. So as you can see, I'm using the Fosner bit. That's a 2-inch Fosner bit. Lathe running around 500 revs there. 480 I think it is actually, if memory serves. And it doesn't often, I have to say. I did mark the Fosner bit shaft with a Sharpie just for the depth I want it to go to. Scared the life out of myself there. It's always important to hold your hand on the Fosner bit or the chuck as you're withdrawing it, just in case it binds a bit and pulls it out of the MT2 taper. So now, Simon Hop. So light cuts is the order of the day, I'm led to believe. We'll put that light on so we can see in there a little bit. Wow. I'm going to speed that lathe up a little bit. Turn the speed up to 1000. I think I'll just bring this tool rest back a little bit. I'll feel more comfortable, I think. I brought the tool rest back a little bit because the end of the tool tapers towards the point, and if I felt like it was kind of dipping down as I was bringing the tool backwards, so I tried to keep it on the straight part of the tool. It's actually pretty amazing how quickly that little 6mm cutter removes the wood. The tool actually has a longer shaft than that, but I have it kind of screwed away into the handle a little bit. Didn't feel like I needed it to be all the way out. So you can probably see in there, there's a little groove where I got a bit carried away. So I'm now trying to fix that. Just there with the cutter is now. You can just see that little groove that I was talking about. It's kind of minute at this stage. but you can still see
Right,
it.
so the bottom's quite good, apart from the fact that there's a wormhole in it. But I've got a little ridge on the side here, where I got a bit carried away, carried away with the Simon Hope tool. So I'm just going to have to go back in here and lose another little bit of this wool. It's getting really thin though. So I'm hoping I don't lose too much of it.
So the wool thickness in the end ends up to be about two and a fraction of a mil, just 2.1 or 2.2 mil.
The wood's complaining a bit there, doing a bit of vibrations. Let's have another look.
So I got rid of most of the that little groove, but what was left, just a tiny little bit, I'm just going to sand off.
So that's kind of done the inside. Just needs a little bit of sanding now. So it's a big enough gap I can get my fingers in there, so we're not too bad. Turn the speed down a bit. It's about 500 red.
And that was me just investigating the wormholes, because there are 4 or 5 little wormholes in this piece. There's not much you can do about wormholes though. There's another Simon Hope tool.
As you can see, there's a you can see there's a. I don't know if you can see there or not. I'll zoom that camera in for you a little bit. I don't know if you can just see there's a wormhole just here. You can just see a little mark there. I'll turn that light off for a minute. It's shining in my eyes there. So there's a little wormhole there, and another little one there. And the grain's kind of swirling here. So it's not too bad. We'll just leave it at that, I think. So as I add the sanding so that you can start to see that grain popping out now. Lovely grain.
So that's Hampshire Sheen sanding sealer, cellulose sanding sealer.
Just leave that for a second or two to dry. And I'll use a nice clean piece of cloth. Lathe running at 700, 800. That's 880. And I'm hardly touching the cloth on it at all. Just let it work. Let the wax do the job.
That's Hampshire Sheen high gloss toy and food safe finish that I applied on that.
Start on the lid. If I could lay my hand on my parting tool. Oh, there it is. Found it. So from there, I'm just going to do a slight undercut. That second cut was a relief cut. So back to the original cut now. It's about 2/3 of the way in. So keep doing the relief cut. And off she pops. So we'll need to just give the bottom a sand. We'll just do over here. Excuse the noise for a minute. Vacuum on. Shop vac attached to my sander. The noise cancellation on my Jabra headset works really well there because that shop vac is actually pretty noisy. Go to the close-up camera. If I can go right in there, so you see little wormholes in the bottom. There's a couple there's one right down the very bottom here, and there's another couple up in here. But other than that, that's open. Throw that tiny little bit away. Now, I'm going to have to lose a tiny little bit of this edge. But we'll better have a look and see how big this is. Go to the overhead for you. Need to measure this now. Move that out of the way for a second. Measure this. I think I need to cut what's left of my hair. It's getting a bit long now. So now I'm going to try and put this mark on the. So we'll just line up the left hand point, keeping the right hand point out the way. So that's, I want to be just inside that, or just on the outside of that, so this will fit in. So I'm going to try and lose just a mil or two off of that. But what to use? Spindle gauge. Little spindle gauge. Yeah. So let's try that. That's close. So we had a bit of messing about there trying to get that a nice tight fit. I actually had to lose a little bit more of the
the depth of the lid to get the a perfect fit. But we achieved it in the end. But I just cut out the process because you didn't need to see it. Right, that'll do. Stop that. That's the transition between the two halves a little bit better now. Yeah, it's quite smooth now. I'll sand that off later. Pop that off. Now, hollow this out. So rather than use the Forstner bit this time, I just used the I used a little 3/8 bowl gouge just to drill a little hole in the centre, and then I used the Simon Hope tool, as you see, to finish off the hollowing. It's absolutely amazing how good that tool is. I think my next investment will be in the long-handled one for doing deeper hollowing. Sorry, I forgot to mute the sound on the speeded up portion there. I don't want to bore you to death with the sanding. So you'll see in a minute here that we kind of line up ourselves to do an insert into the inside of the lid. My good lady wife Michelle gave me a £1 coin from the Isle of Man, and I tried to film it with that view, but the camera failed. So you just get a little bit of it here. So basically all we did is we measured it with the calipers, cut it out with a badan, and then we put a few little rings on the inside just to decorate the inside of the lid as well. Again, I'm just shaping the top a little bit on this side. I want it to be kind of round with a slight dome on the top because the insert of the piece of walnut is going to go on here. So we cut a piece of walnut off a piece that we had. The issue is that I cut it end grain rather than side grain. I think it would have looked much better had it been side grain. The end grain's a bit, you can see where it was torn out, where I parted it off with a parting tool, and it took a lot of sanding to try and get it back to the right, but it never really came. So if you're doing inlay, I think side grain is better than in grain for inlaying. So I'm just making a little jam chuck here. So it's just not quite tight enough fit. So I just let it go in a little bit deeper on the jam chuck. And what I've done there is I've actually tapered the bit from the jam chuck towards the shoulder, so as it fits on better. And now I'm just going to try a single piece of paper. And that wasn't quite tight enough, so we'll give it a double piece. Give it a that one, that did the job. That tightened it up really nicely. Another learning lesson just about to appear. A little recess, or a mortise if you want to call it that. The, walnut. With the screw there. This is another bit where it's just kind of trial and error. Now, what do I need to mark that between 3 and 4. Oh, there's my little pen. Oh. So I'm just marking where it sits in the jaws. So I'm marking it between 3 and 4 there. That's what I was trying to do. Yes. So as I can remount that again. So as I can get it remounted. Absolutely. Pop that out just for a minute. Leave the chuck key in the chuck. So there's a piece of walnut. Little box back on. We just turned that down to the right size and took it back off the lathe again, so you didn't really need to see that. 3 and 4. So there. Tighten that up so the teeth match the same place. There we go. It's important to get that back in the same place on your chuck. First thing I need to do is just square the edge of this, because it's not quite square. And it needs to be a tiny little bit deeper. So the banana. Now, just want to square this up. Freshly sharpened banana. Without losing any more width. Down a little bit. Add a little bit of depth. This is the bit where it gets critical about the size. If you want it to look nice, you need to be pretty precise with your measurements and go really slowly when you're trying to take out the mortise, if you want to call it that, the recess. Now, let's try and put a little in there, see will it fit. Now, a whole lot of goes at this to try and get this in the right place. And just make sure it was nice so there's no gap. A shade tight. Fraction. Half a millimetre. So basically I'm just using the very edge of the bidan just to scrape the edge and not take very much off at all. And the piece of walnut is thicker than the recess. Thicker than the depth of the recess, I should say. Tiny bit more. This is where you can get a bit heavy-handed and have to start again, basically. And you go too far. So, patience. Take your time. fit nicely. It's a tight fit, but it's nearly too tight. Just give it a tiny little bit more. So this is the same process as I went through on the inside of the lid, only the tailstock camera gave up on me, it froze, so I'd lost all that footage. Still not there. You got to make sure too that the sides of your motors are square and not tapered at all. Or you could undercut it slightly, dovetail it even just a tiny little bit, and that would help too. That's the job. Now we'll set that with CA glue, and then we'll go try and finish that end. So, some medium CA glue. That way. Okay. So I'm just going to take it back out of the chuck again for a minute. I'm just looking at this picture and thinking I have no stickers on my lathe yet. And we'll put some medium CA glue in the bottom. Medium CA glue was supplied by Hampshire Sheen from the Woodturning shop. Like so. And we'll use some activator on the disc. Pop the disc in. Give it a squeeze up. Back in the chuck. Between 3 and 4. You didn't really need to take it off the chuck there. I could have easily removed the chuck, I suppose. But I already had it marked, so it wasn't too difficult. Give that 3 or 4 minutes to set there. Shouldn't take that long. And whether the best plan is to sand it or to try and cut it a little bit first. We'll try and cut it to see can we get it to cut. And hopefully that's gave that enough time to dry. So we'll try cutting this now. See can we get a nice cut in here. Whoops. I was just taking real gentle cuts there, and it's too much pressure. I got to the little nib at the end, and it popped off. So try again. Pull it back on again. Less pressure this time, Brian. Thinking that tourist might be just a fraction of height.
Very light cut. One more cut. And that's all the cutting is getting. Now we're back to sanding again. Start at 120. That's 120 there. So I just speed you through the sanding process. Didn't take that very long, but applied the sanding sealer again. Still not very happy with that. I can't take it out again, so it'll just have to be a learn. Put it down to experience, I think. Not really happy with the walnut disc is what I was trying to say there. Start off a little bit with the sanding sealer. I'm just burnishing the sanding sealer in there a bit, just to help dry it off. See, will that help any? Now we'll give it a little go with some Yorkshire grit. See how that helps it. So major lessons learned of this this little video is lightness of touch with tools and getting the correct tool presentation. Okay. Taking your time to mark things out correctly, and then when you're doing the inlays, just take your time and take small cuts and allow yourself the so there we go, there's our little bowl finished, our little box. Get a look at the bottom, we'll go in and we'll put our maker's mark on the bottom. So the grain lines up quite nicely. Very hard to see there. Little box, satisfying little pop when it opens. We've got the Isle of Man coin in the inside, and on the top we have a little piece of walnut. Just a little practice piece for me for our club challenge. First time I've tried to inlay anything, so that's a nice learning curve. And let's go, that's the wrong place obviously. That's it there. So the grain almost matches up. It's just a little bit shoe mist in here. It's good there, and it's not too bad there. So it's a nice piece of, oh sorry, there we go. So there we are, there's a little box. I enjoyed making that. So it has a nice figure and stuff. We'll do some photographs inside when we get inside. It has a walnut inlay on the top, and then open it up. There's the inside of the bottom, and there's the inside of the top. So we have a nice Isle of Man coin located in the top. That's it. They're together, and it has a nice, a good fit. Doesn't fall off when you pick it up. Oh, I enjoyed making that. I hope you are going to enjoy watching it once I've edited the video. So that's me for today. Well, thanks very much for watching, guys. I'll just give you one last look at that on the lathe. There he is. And I'll press the button and we'll see you on another one. Yep, thank you very much for watching, guys. Please be aware this video is not for education. It's just my journey and to become a wood turner. And if you would like, please like, subscribe, and share if you would.